So, welcome everyone to this worldwide broadcast on a Friday evening, New York City time. And New York City Korean MGTOW, welcome. Thank you for dropping by. We know you're busy. We see you making great comments everywhere, and things were looking good this week. And lots of good MGTOW content out there, and hopefully more men have become red-pilled, beginning the journey to self-possession, to awareness. And I think the theme today will continue to be that great idea of last week from Whiskey, Stills, and Tumbleweeds about the lighthouse. And the awareness that MGTOW can offer is that. Oh, you banned Nick what? I actually had a reasonably good interaction with Nick what on a page, but who knows what she's going to do. We don't want women here. That's right. Good call. So the lighthouse is lighting up various parts of this rocky cliff, and that's the awareness that men coming into MGTOW can see. They can see this the danger, and that's the awareness of what's really going on. And what's really going on is that there's danger out there, and men have to be aware of it. Old men, young men, grandfathers have got to remember maybe their fathers and start to push, and then they can push, and their sons can push, and then their grandsons, so as to make sure that the great-grandsons are better protected than we ever were. Yes, we had recent changes in the 1970s. I lived through that. I saw those changes. I didn't know what was going on. I look back and I find that nobody knew what was going on, but we know what's going on now. We know what's going on. We know what to do. And so, welcome, MGTOW men, and we'll put the link in right now. I had some trouble with my system. I couldn't, I don't know, something wasn't right. My modem wasn't right, or something wasn't right. So anyway, we had an interesting week this week with, MH is here. Well, drop in, MH. I had a busy week.
MH is here. Thanks for stopping by. Check out his channel, everybody.
MH. Wow, good. Welcome. I had no idea what was going to happen this morning. I still don't. I'm hoping men will drop in, new men to MGTOW, if they want to, talk online. Anyone who wants to come online and get some experience talking online, that's what I'm doing, and getting the word out there. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Just been taking it easy this week. I've had a fair bit of work on. I don't feel too well physically, but apart from that, everything's good. Been relaxing a bit.
Okay.
Listening to some of the messages out there this week, and some of the men are a bit upset that John's gone.
What do you mean gone? I hadn't heard this. I missed this.
MGTOW's Freedom, his channel's been taken down, so
the channel's been taken down.
Apparently, yeah. I haven't actually checked it myself, but I take it from good.
Yeah.
The reputation of some good men out there that. He suffered a big hit there.
Well, who took it down, John or Google?
Yeah, I think YouTube themselves took it down. So that's not good, eh?
No, it's not good. But he worked up his subs. It didn't take him long though. to tell you the truth, John has such a great presence on screen and such a solid message. You know, I can now say with confidence, I have the penis.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a shame, but his channel's been backed up anyway, so he hasn't. It's not lost completely.
Yeah, it's not lost, and he probably has, you know, personal copies. But you know, he needed a break. It was good for him to take a break, and we hope it's not for very long. But it's good for him to take a little hiatus from his...
you never know. I mean, he's made it sort of clear that he intends abandoning the platform anyway. But you never know, he might come back, because it is quite a good platform. It's quite large. It's a household name, so I think it'd be foolish not to use it for some kind of leverage.
Yes, well, you know, if you can come up with a better idea, you know, we can, you know, open up another field, as Marcel Enlightened was talking about in his follow-up video on MGTOW's discrimination. You know, he reviewed a couple of the other platforms, but none have, as you say, the name, the household name, or the draw. And so...
Because I think what's happening with the internet in general is that people, by and large, have been driven into internet ghettos, such as Facebook and YouTube, which is a dead end in itself, but they're kind of large dead ends, they're popular kind of dead ends, whereas the internet is a lot larger place, as we well know. So we should all be aware of being driven into internet ghettos purposely, for the purposes of just so we all live in echo chambers. So you're not actually being effective there. If you're just spreading messages preaching to the converted, then that's not very good. Which is why YouTube, I think, is a quite handy platform for us to use, because we can reach people who are in need. Whereas if we're not on our own platform, we're not likely to get anywhere, are we? You know?
Well, that's right. If you just put up a web page with some videos, it's hard to you know, get your search parameters up there. But the search parameter within YouTube is effective for this.
I mean, it's okay if you can effectively drive people onto your own platform. That would be okay, onto a different platform. But you run the risk then, don't you, dealing with someone else who you don't know is in control, and where's all your data going, and who are these people running the thing? Could be anyone.
Yes, that's right. And you know, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. You know, I'm just recently on this, and I haven't bothered to investigate options. But you know, the time is getting near where the lighthouse of MGTOW has to be expanded in a different way. I think we put the word out there that MGTOW is looking for a new home, a new platform, a new means of making a presence on the internet somehow. You know, the alternative may be to get out into reality, and nobody wants to do that. Have, you know, sticks and stones thrown at you. On the internet, it's just words. As the saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So we don't want men out protesting on the street, although, you know, the MRA did it.
I think good luck to them though, because we need people out there challenging all fronts. Really.
That's right.
It's not MGTOW's place to do that.
No, that's right. It's a big, you know, the manosphere, as they call it. Yeah, there's, you know, a variety of perspectives, and eventually, I think all roads lead to MGTOW in this sphere, because we represent the most consistent and secure path for men to withdraw from the system that will eat them up, and just to pause and to think and to strategize. And so it's the safest place. It's the haven. Hey, there's a new video. The haven.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt men have got it bad these days. I mean, if you look back even to when we were kids in the 70s, it's a lot different now. The kind of upbringing they've got, where we were out playing and messing around in the wildlife and stuff, and the kids now, they don't go out. So you can go up country now, there's no kids making little dens and things, whereas when we were kids, there was, we were all out, weren't we, playing all day and all night.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you read these crazy things, not necessarily associated with MGTOW, but I read this article about this man picked up his son at school who was, he got in trouble, and he asked the kid, "Why'd you get in trouble?" And the kid wouldn't tell him, so he made the kid walk home. And he was living in rural Hawaii, and he made the kid walk home a mile
right.
along this sort of country road in Hawaii. And some busybody picked up the kid, and the next thing you know, the police are involved, and he's charged with child abuse for making his kid walk home a mile on a country road in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
This is insane. And so, what can you do if kids aren't allowed to walk home a mile on a country road anymore? Yeah. They're not playing. That they want them in their houses or something.
I mean, well, from what I can remember, we all walked to school back in the day.
Yeah, definitely walked to school. But they say there's predators out there. Well, maybe there are. Rural Hawaii is full of them, I guess. Sexual predators. And violent psychopaths, sadist predators in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not safe in a tropical paradise, where are you?
Yeah. And the judge came down with the verdict, but I thought the judges were supposed to protect the community from predators walking around free.
Yeah, it seems like the state worldwide has got an agenda of just promoting fear, so that people they're trying to micromanage people's lives now from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
Getting in a state of subservience by fear.
By fear. And this is the charge brought up against MGTOW, that we're fear mongering, but I don't believe we are. All we do is say these are the statistics, and 50% of divorces fail, 70% by women, and if that doesn't cause you to be a little bit concerned, then maybe you're not looking at it quite the right way. It's not fear, it's just look at the numbers. You'd be crazy to walk into those odds.
Yeah. Well, I think now the women have got the equality in law, because they have, and but yet they're still going on about rights that they've earned years ago. It's just getting a bit tiring for everybody now, and I think that's what they're facing, the feminists and the women. There's a backlash, even by their own kind. And it's becoming counterproductive now, and there's an awareness going on that this experiment really is not working, and something's got to be done to change it.
Well, you notice that the feminist narrative comes out, and they don't talk about the situation in the West. They all of a sudden talk about some, horrible situation probably in some African country or some Asian country or something like that.
Yeah.
And as if the men of the West have anything to do with this. And we're not in colonialism. We're not in charge of these countries, either of the men in those countries or the women in those countries. And so they always switch the narrative from the countries that the men of the West have control over, or did, or partial control, or into these other countries. And that's not our business. It's not their business.
Yeah. Well, from what I've noticed of feminism generally, is that they couldn't care less about women worldwide. That their only goal is to destroy Western men. That's from what I can see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. it's the gynocentric system. They want more power, just power over men. Because if they have power over men, then they have power over men's wallets.
Yeah. The trouble is, though, is that now they've got this equality in law and they have this power, is that they're becoming a majority, but while a voting active majority, you know, with the simps and whatever, the support they've managed to drum up, is that the ballot box does seem to be the answer, although there seem to be nihilists out there and anarchists and so on who don't actually agree with that kind of thing. But it seems to me that that's the system that's in place, that's the system that's in force, and that's the only way you can change it. And if you've got people like women who have to vote, and simps and whoever, who are going for these kind of socialist agendas, is that it's promoting that kind of culture, so it snowballs, it's creating itself, feeding off itself. So it's a very strange situation where it's expanding, it's promoting itself, and feeding off itself, and feeding off everyone else as well. So realistically, it can't survive anyway. Economically, it can't survive, and therefore politically, it can't survive. So it has to collapse anyway.
Yes, the system. This is hard to get your head around that their agenda has been followed, and they're seemingly in control, not by an absolute majority in any party, but just by a strong presence in every party. They affect it, and the system that they've created in the political parties, and then whatever party gets into power, they have to appease, and the more they appease, the more the system becomes unstable and unworkable.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of things with values. There are a lot of people out there who they're not motivated to vote, and they might be against the policies that are enacted at the moment, but they won't do anything about it. They're quite passive. They'll sit there and moan about it all day, but they won't actually do anything about it. So I'm not sure if the MRAs will achieve anything, or if anybody else will achieve anything. But until there's a coherent plan, which is to balance the books and to do the housework properly that needs to be done, then it's just going to continue. That's the problem we're facing, I think.
Well, yeah, they call it voter apathy, and I recall hearing something about some elections are, one of them recently was only 41% turnout. This is 60% of people not bothering even to show up,
right,
to vote. I think they realize they vote for one party, it's the same as voting for another party. There's really a one-party state in all of the countries of the West, I think, for the most part. Although Germany may be different, and Italy may be different.
Yeah.
But, in the Anglo-Saxon world, it's really a one-party state.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got a really good idea for a party in Britain. I think it'd be quite popular, which is a constitution party. To actually have a written constitution, because we haven't actually got one. We've got all the old bills and everything, but that's my issue with the country that we've got here. It might be the same with other Commonwealth countries, I don't know, but I'm speaking for Britain itself, is that if we allow all these changes to carry on as they are doing, then that becomes part of the constitution in itself. So that's the issue I've got.
Well,
There's a lot of people out there, they wouldn't be concerned and they haven't even thought about it.
Yeah, there's, there needs to be a reestablishment of something. There is a constitution movement in the States as well, Constitution Party. But in Britain, I think is the first one to have a men and boys party, or a men and families party, something like that. And I saw a video from the guy, and he's very well spoken, has some solid credentials, and is making the case. Not quite full on MGTOW, but making the case that men have received the bad end of the stick for a very long time. And he's running for seats in the parliament, and he's got a couple of people running. And if people would wake up and the 60% who didn't vote would vote for this, but that may not be their issue. Their issue may not be a men and boys issue. Their issue may be an economic issue or something else. And the thing about MGTOW is we don't take a stance on any political party. We don't even take a stance on voting or not voting. But at the very bottom, I believe that gynocentrism is the reason why we have so much corruption, because men wish to get these resources and put it at the feet of women in order to get access. And this has been the case for 1,000 years now in the political system of the West. It starts with the kings and then the dukes. They all need more money than they need, allies, the community, so they make them richer. Then they start giving licenses in order to gain money. And then those people are in the system and they start playing this gynocentric game, creating destructive competition amongst men. And now we're in a situation where the destructive competition has allowed women themselves to have influence on the lawmaking. And this lawmaking is completely destructive to men, even the men at the top.
Yeah. We can go around to the period of, say, 1600 or 1800, where it's quite big on the honor system, where the moral thing was paramount, and it was the utmost importance. And that's what we've lost, you see, as people, is that base honor, where they got, for example, relationships now. It's a massive rabbit hole in itself. If you think about all the facets involved in just the community level relationships that people have, you could go on for hours and hours just about that in itself.
Yes.
That's all. It's all gone now, whereby people can behave in any way they want and just flip between people, and so it seems. I don't know.
Well, no, I think you have it. People say they have a right to do this and a right to do that. And, hundreds of years ago, most people lived in small communities, small villages, even small towns. And the process of urbanization itself separated these support systems. But they're also, a moral control system. A small village, you can't be doing crazy stuff because the rest of the people all see what you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
So, and the choices of doing this crazy stuff wouldn't have been available even. So people would do what was normal, what's sustainable, what their parents and grandparents had done, basically. And change was slow, but urbanization caused a big problem in this control system, community control, and then a rights-based political philosophy came in the late 1700s, and we've lost respect for other people. We demand rights, but we don't have to give anything for them. We're born with these rights. So you have to respect me because I have rights. Ooh.
And not only that, it's the fact that bad behaviour is rewarded by the state as well, whereby people can do anything they want, and they'll get free housing, free food every week, free, and it goes on and on. Some people get free vehicles, they get free. I've even heard of people who operate stores. They get free rent for the store and free housing, and free all sorts. I thought, how does that work?
Yeah.
But that's what's happening out there. So people can behave in any way they want, and they get rewarded for it. And that's the problem. And then it just proliferates itself, and that's we end up with the people who having to pay for it. That's the problem.
That's right. Yes, it's an entitlement. So people have, they got these rights, and then they become dependent, and then they feel entitled to everything. They feel entitled to the respect. They feel entitled to money and resources. And at the same time, the government suddenly takes away, through a licensing procedure or an allowance for imports from countries that have $1 a day wages. And so the government allows this type of unfair competition into the community and throws a whole swath of people out of work. And then, they have to go on welfare because the government just allowed the borders to collapse, against an army of slave wages.
Well, I can see what's happening already with all the manufacturing that's happening in the Far East. It's destroyed the British manufacturing, and I've been watching the markets, the metals markets, plus the export markets, the strength of the pound generally overall against the dollar and the yen and so on. And what I found is that the manufacturing, and it's quite a good plan that they've got, the Chinese, is that because they've destroyed the industry, because they've got the slave labour and whatever that you touched upon,
Yep.
is that they've kept the prices low so they can actually dominate the manufacturing to begin with. And then slowly, now they've destroyed everyone else's manufacturing capability, that they're upping their prices.
Yeah.
And so now we're really going to start snowballing, because this is the new era now. We're in a post-industrialist economy now in the West, and that we are about to be completely taken over with exorbitant prices. You just watch it's going to happen now. Over this next 5 to 10 years, they're going to start really upping it. It's already happened now. This past 5 years.
Oh, really?
It's going to snowball now. I've noticed it in more places now. I can still trade with them and get reasonably good prices, but overall, I've noticed it's starting to increase, and it's quite rapid. So, if that carries on, I think the next 10 years are going to be real economic trouble.
Yes, and that'll be great dislocation for people on lower wages who now enjoy cheap imports.
Yeah.
However, if the prices do go up, it wouldn't take very long to retool, some factories in the West somewhere and restart up industries. And of course, we have a huge number of men who would work if there were a job. And so, what do they call it? Labor non-participation. It's at 100 million in the U.S. or something. Now, some of these are students, yes, and some of these are, single mothers and stuff. But there's still, tens of millions of men who would work, but there's no job at all.
That's right. There's nothing. But you see, people, it's a false economy whereby they purchase things because they're cheaper. Well, they might be cheaper to purchase, but the value of your dollar is not as strong as it used to be when you had home production, because there's less employment. The economy's bad. You've got more national debt, and it goes on and on and on. So people will quite willingly give away their grandchildren's economic stability for their short-term gain, where it's an illusion, and they're falling for it.
Well, Savage MGTOW is pointing out we may be moving to a post-consumer society. And in this case, I think there's some evidence for this, that people are saying, why should I buy anything? Why do I need to buy anything that I don't absolutely need? And so they're thinking that happiness does not come from the purchase.
Well, I think it's not only that. We're definitely in a post-industrialist economy in the West, and that as a result of that, of the weakening of the dollar and the pound as its buying power for like groceries and for real-time stuff such as electricity, utility bills, that's why people aren't buying so much as well, is that they haven't got the buying power of the dollar anymore, and so they need to save the money in order to pay for their housing and their utilities. Yep. Whereas years ago, when there was a lot of home manufacturing, there's a good strength to the currency, and although the prices were high, at least everyone was in work. You might not have had as much, but at least you could. Well, there wasn't much available anyway, was there? Back in the day, luxury like computers and so on. Where you only had your basics. So I think we are moving into a post-consumer.
But somebody's making money on all of this, because the productivity of all the communities in the industrialized or post-industrialized West, they're all able to produce so much so easily. So where's all this money going? One wonders.
Well, we shouldn't be allowed to have them. I know how we could get our nations back producing, but a lot of people wouldn't really support it, which would be to have nationalized industry again in Britain and in America and Canada as well. And like the Chinese model, whereby everything's state-owned, everybody's working, and everything gets exported because they're the state-owned exporter as well. So basically, they can sell you something for $1 each and send it to your door. We can't do that.
Yeah.
No one will. We can't send our stuff around the world. A $5 product and send it to someone's door.
Well, the Chinese had in 1970, 600 million or 700 million people in absolute desperate poverty. And they had a plan, I think with Kissinger, that, ultimately the world couldn't proceed if China were so poor. So they thought they'd make China richer. But China didn't bother to ever increase its wages. It started exporting and rolling in the money. It was kept at the top, given to the Communist Party. And the people at the bottom, they'll just take anything because it was better than what they had in the fields. And so their wages just haven't risen at all. And it's not only a problem for the West, it's also a problem for other, countries emerging out of rural poverty, because the Chinese can dump products into all their countries as well, throwing off their economic development models.
Yeah.
So it's the Chinese, which is an engine of growth, but only because it's sucking up everything from the rest of the world. They have to raise their wages up to a reasonable standard, provide health benefits in the factories and all sorts of stuff that benefit the workers, at least to some extent. I look at the difference between inventors' rights and workers' rights. We call it the inventors' rights is intellectual property rights, but let's just call it what it is. It's giving benefits to inventors. And this was made a requirement for any type of trade deal, that you would have to respect this. But what about workers' rights? That workers get living wage, they get certain safety features at their place of work. This was not put into trade covenants. So we have the inventors' rights, which could be individual people, but it could also be corporations which buy those patents, and they get the protection, but workers don't. And we're seeing the result of that hypocrisy, that some get protection and others don't. We don't have equal protection.
Well, in Britain we've had the Health and Safety Act came in quite a few years ago, and that had good intentions at the beginning to protect workers, which it has done, I suppose, to a certain degree. But it's also hindered things as well, because some people can't employ another man because of all these regulations and so on. But if they stay on their own, they don't have to get, say, for example, a tea room, a washroom or a restroom, or it's a double-edged sword, that kind of thing, working protection. It can go actually against people.
Especially small business, so it hurts small business, but the corporations maybe can deal with it.
Yeah.
But then the imported products don't have these restrictions. The imported products coming free of all the local legislation. So
well, it seems that way. I remember a time where a lot of imports were strictly checked for safety and so on, whereas now they can sort of sneak through. I don't know how, but I've seen all kinds of stuff being sold from eBay in Britain that's just downright dangerous, really. Like shower heads, heated shower heads that could just kill you in a flash.
Ooh.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Heated shower heads.
Yes, just really weird stuff like that. Just out and out dangerous stuff.
Like there's electricity right next to the water and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know,
It's
but
got no earth connection or flimsy connection or something. It's not connected properly.
yeah.
So there wasn't. Yeah. Whereas years ago, if everything was made in Britain, it was obviously it had to be a certain standard. It couldn't be made, and anything imported, if you've got caught selling it, you'd be a hefty sentence in jail or a massive fine or something.
Well, that'll wake you up in the morning. You got the electricity, you got the water, you grab it, nice, what is it, 110 or 220 volts? I'm awake now. Time to meet the day.
Yeah. So I don't know what we're going to do about manufacturing in Britain. We're finished now. So
yeah, and what is it with the finance industry? It's coming under greater scrutiny. They're getting rid of the LIBOR, and they're going to replace it with something. Who knows what corrupt system they'll try to put in place. And J.P. Morgan was just, I think, found guilty by FINMA in Switzerland of money laundering.
Yeah.
So, somebody wrote that we're in an age of finance. You know how you had the age of sail or the age of iron or whatever. We're in the age of finance, or the empire of finance.
That's what Britain claims to be now, some kind of nation of finance.
Yeah.
So.
And so it seems to be faltering because there's so much corruption.
Yeah. A service economy, that's what we are now, apparently.
Yes.
That's it, yeah. But servicing what and who? Because if you've got no customers at the end, what are you going to do? There's nowhere to go, is there?
Well, the world's a big place. I'm living in Asia, and Asia is arriving out of a previous lower level state into a higher level state. So there's room here, but they certainly do need some skills. So if you get the skills, you can always find a job, I think, in certain industries, especially the tech industry. It helps to have English as a first language to do computer programming and things like that. And so, the world's a big place and growing, but the West seems to be in a downslide. The system is eating itself.
Yeah. Well, it's proliferating the giving away of free money, which is unsustainable. Seriously now, because there's been a time where I remember there were people who turned away from getting benefit money and so on, like genuine natives. There's loads of immigrants and they're getting all kinds of stuff. But that to me doesn't make sense. You've got homeless people being turned away, but yet there's room for these thousands upon thousands of people who just keep coming. I think, well, where's this coming from? Where's the money coming from to pay for these people?
It's coming from the unborn grandchildren and the unborn children. They're putting debt into the future to pay for pay for these things today.
Yeah, and for years we were telling people not to have too many children because we can't, we haven't got the room for them. We can't, think about the economy, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, we need immigrants to make up the numbers because we haven't got enough workers, even though there's unemployment. So this is what I'm objecting to, that what we're bombarded with now. Is the fact there's no work for people, but yet they claim they need more people to do work for jobs that don't exist. And they're paying them money that doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's a very funny thing, and MGTOW is the lighthouse. We got that from Whiskey Stills and Tumbleweed last week, and I put out a little video on this. This is what MGTOW is warning about. Become aware of the system around you. It's a gynocentric system, ultimately. They're borrowing money to give to women and women's interests. And women are not husbands. They don't know how to husband resources. And what they would do is just spend resources, and that's what we see since the time they got the vote until today. They just want the resources, and they just want to fritter away the resources here and there on whatever makes them feel good in the moment. And so I'll take this particular point in time to read a comment that I did receive on the Lighthouse video. And we talked about having young men, and in fact older men, not go in with the current against the rocks and get broken in or broken up on the rocks. It's dangerous, so just stay out and look at what's going on. But we had this comment by Zen Maintenance, and I'll read the comment here. He said, "Sailing my ship through many troubled waters, waters raging, winds howling, attacked on all sides from sharks leaping onto the deck. I fight furiously to fling them off. One by one, they overwhelm me. Sharks, octopus, creatures from unplumbed depths assail me, while the winds rip the sails, break the mast. Lord, I cry, where comes my strength? Look astern, past the sharks, krankens and malformed sea shit beset my weary vessel, and lo, it was that stupid bitch, that single mom, that tattooed wildebeest, that swampy hipster cunt that engulfed ungrateful, whoring, adulterous Ganymede, that polyamorous, feminist, cunting bore, that swampy, hormonal, shilling lie, that woman, that girl, that unicorn, that Nawalt. It was her. It was her pulling all that vile shit from the sea aboard my fucking vessel. So I lunged astern and did what every captain of his own ship must do. I threw that shank-ass bitch overboard. Back into the sea with ye, ye scarlet woman. Smooth sailing in a tight motherfucking ship ever since, guided by the lighthouse of MGTOW. So that was a reading of, I think, a wonderful comment by Zen Maintenance on what can happen if you become aware of what's on your ship and what's causing all the trouble. So, great language there by Zen Maintenance. Thank you. So we have to shine the light on the government and be aware of the damage they're doing to men systematically, long term. And we have to be aware of the legal system, the light that MGTOW shines on the legal system, and the light that shines on women's own natural gynocentrism, and how that has gone rampant, and hypergamy is now unfettered and public, and all of this is damaging to men. So, I think we should do a Lighthouse of the Week, MH. What do you think? Each week we highlight a video that we think was an outstandingly bright example of a warning to men every week.
Yeah, that's going to be a good little feature. I think we could wangle that in somehow.
Well, I'm going to throw out the first video of the past week. Well, it's sort of just slightly outside the week, but it's a video by Misandry Today, published on November 9th. And he did a great video. I think it's a great video. Avoiding marriage is not enough. Did you see that video by Misandry Today?
No.
Oh,
is it possible? I think you could do a screen share. You could play it now, probably.
Well,
I don't know if that'll come across.
Oh, I don't think it'll come through. I haven't tried doing a screen share of a video. Should I try that?
You could do, yeah. Try it.
Okay, let me see if I can get it up here. It'll take me a little while. But what he discussed in the video was how women can just have go through civil court and seize your home, seize your car, seize your guns and your license for the guns in America, without having to go to court. And that, is very well researched, and it's just the danger of this. And he went through the numbers and came up with perhaps 900,000 men a year are victim of this type of action. And how you don't have to be married to this woman to allow her to do this to you. This is even worse than I thought it was. That the system can, you don't have to go before a judge, and all of this can be ripped from you, either temporary or then permanent.
Yes, I mean, some guys are told to leave the house, and they're out the house straight away. Other guys just get a letter through a few weeks later saying there's a claim on the house.
Yeah.
on the land registry. Yeah, land registry claim. All kinds of stuff.
Okay. Now let me. I'll try to jump in here to do a screen share. Is this coming out?
No.
Can you see it?
No.
You cannot see it. You should be able to see it now.
No.
Oh, you're not seeing. I got it on the screen share.
Yeah. Have
So
you pressed
anyway-
OK on the screen share thing? You have to press screen share and then OK.
I'll try that. How's that? Can you see it now? Should be
Oh,
up now.
Red Shift said he could see it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Now, can he-
Yes, I can see it now.
Yeah,
I
can
can
he
see that
hear
before.
it?
Yep. MGTOW Warrior said he can hear it. All right, Warrior. How you doing? And Savage. Hello there. And who else? Red Shift. Whoosh Whoosh. Monkster. Hello there. Who else?
Okay, that's good.
Just saying hello to everybody.
Barely hear it. I see. Yeah, I don't know how to get the. Oh, now I'm screen sharing the same page. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm pumped up, full volume here. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop this and I'll look at the
Oh yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, tried them.
So yeah, he's talking, and he did quite a lot of research, and you can tell he did, and it was very well presented about these women stealing assets, and just you gotta notice you're out of your house, they can take your car, and so one day it's going okay, and the next day you've got your car seized, you're not allowed in your house, your bank accounts have been frozen or stolen, and then. The question he asked was, how are you going to deal with life now being homeless without money? How are you going to get to work? How is this going to work out in your life suddenly to have this happen? And, this is highly damaging and destructive. And it's just one phone call. It's one unverified phone call away.
If you're a young man and you've got just quite a nice, kindly, decent nature about you, that's not something you're going to expect either, because I wouldn't do that to somebody. So, be quite shocked to me.
Yeah, exactly. That that you can't imagine this happening to you until it happens, and then how do you deal with it? Some people have said, you get a little money and bury it in the ground somewhere, right? So that nobody knows it's there. And if you have to, you can just go dig it up, and at least you have some resources. And I think Redshift will agree with me that, you buy some silver coin, and you bury it in the ground. It won't rot too bad. And then, if you get kicked out of your house, you have at least a few $1,000s or something buried in the ground. The government doesn't know you have, your wife doesn't know you have, nobody knows you have it. So it's always good to keep money away from knowing eyes. Don't tell anyone. And the rule is with precious metals, if you don't hold it, you don't have it. So It's not paper silver or paper gold, and it's not silver or gold in a safety deposit box somewhere. You don't have it. You don't hold it. So hold it, have it, and bury it in the ground somewhere for that day that the worst happens. And apparently he said it happens 900,000 times a year in America. These numbers are astounding. And he took these numbers from various U.S. government agencies. And one might think it's a conspiracy or something to remove gun ownership from Americans, because many people in the United Nations say that people shouldn't have guns, that it should only be governments that have guns. And so there's an attempt to get America to disarm. But we all know what happens when you disarm the people. Suddenly there's a genocide. And we look in the 20th century and we see the history of the 20th century is littered by governments which first disarm the populace and then they kill swaths of them. So, is this one of those little strategies to remove guns from hundreds of thousands of men every year? I don't know, but it seems to be.
Another trick I don't like is the fact they take Americans' driver's licenses from them if they don't pay child support or whatever. That's a nasty little trick.
Oh yeah, that's a nasty thing. How do you get to work? And then they take your passport, so you can't leave the country. Okay, now MGTOW doesn't advise not paying child support. Even if you don't get to see the kids, okay, that's the worst, but until they're 18 or something, you're responsible to care for them. But if it's just alimony, they won't let you leave the country or something. They'll take your passport.
Yeah. So you imagine if they're in a tight spot, though, some guys are in a tight spot, and the driving license is taken off them, and like you say, they can't get to work, or maybe they are a driver and they can't work at all. So how are they going to get out the tight spot then? I don't like it. I think that's a nasty trick.
Yes, and they're backing men into an ever smaller corner. And on the one hand, MGTOW says, well, they're backing men to come into MGTOW to get this information. From Miss Andre today, in that great video he made, or in so many other great videos by MGTOW content providers that detail the various ways in which men are backed into the corner. They have their stuff taken from them. They have their freedom taken from them. And eventually, they have their sanity taken from them. And there was one picture I saw this week of, what looked to be a homeless man. And he was carrying a sandwich board, and it said, "Don't ever get married."
Yeah. Yeah.
And perhaps if we discover some of these homeless men, of which I don't know in Britain, and in Canada there's fewer because it's too cold to be homeless for most of the year, so they have to be put into shelters or given accommodation, which I suppose is well and good. But if they're out on the street and their destruction came from a nasty marriage, a breakup, then give them a sandwich board and say, "Don't ever get married," and then MGTOW at the bottom and pay the guy, $20 and say, "Well, do it for as long as you like and go have dinner."
Yeah.
Right? Do that once in a while and get this army, unfortunately, of homeless men to contribute to getting the message out that if you're on the wrong side of this, as so many men are, that this can be the result.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just come out of 18 years liability for child support.
Yeah.
So that's I'm about a year clear of it now. So that's not been very easy to deal with.
Yeah, it's not easy to deal with. It's much easier when you only have one household to support and you're with your kids and you can, you know, ensure that the money's going to them and you can ensure that they're doing good things with the money, and you share the happiness that money can bring. Sure.
Yeah.
But just to fork this money over and you know, whether you have it or not, you know, some months you're down for this or that reason.
Yeah.
And so you can budget and postpone payments and things like this. And this all becomes so difficult when there's a judge involved who is heartless and who is within a system that doesn't care about you. You know, they want to make work for their friends in the prison system, so they have to send you to the prison system. You know, somebody just buys them a drink at the bar later on and says, "Thanks for filling up our prisons. Send us more."
Yeah, there's a lot of fellas out there who they actually want a family, so they have their first family, that breaks up, then they can't afford another family. They're trying to get involved with another woman, and they can't afford it.
And that's sad, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, the first family, you know, breaks apart, and you know, even if they can afford it, should they afford it? MGTOW is saying, well, what's the chance of this second one breaking apart? And then you've got payments to two families, and now you got absolutely nothing.
Yep. So they go for it. Some guys go for it though.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the draw of that historical narrative. It's so strong that it draws men in. It says you have to have a family, you have to do this. And this is the current pulling men against this rock on the cliffs. And what they see is, yes, they see what probably 20% of men in marriages make it out their whole lives, and it's good for them. Some of them, it may be very good. So some men make it ashore, and MGTOW has to admit this. It's not that all men will fail, but the statistics say, well, maybe 20% make it and are pretty happy. 20% make it and are walking on eggshells, more or less. Yeah. And, you know, 40, 50%, they're not making it at all.
Yeah.
And some of them wind up hopeless with sandwich boards saying, don't ever get married.
Yeah, I know a few guys who they're still married. They seem to be getting on all right, but they've actually said to me on occasion, "Oh God, what have I done?" You know. So,
yeah.
So they kind of don't envy me, but they look at themselves sometimes, and maybe I don't help. Maybe their case, I don't know. Maybe I am helping. It's one of those situations where I can see the confusion in their eyes.
Yes, that's right. Well, you're a lighthouse in yourself, right? You know, your life is a symbol or a signal that things can go wrong, and you know, maybe they have to eat humble pie or whatever it is in order not to create some sort of situation where the woman wishes to hypergamate.
Yeah.
And until at least the kids are grown up and out, and then they can make the choice. So they may have to walk on eggshells for 8 or 10 years or something.
I think one of the most dangerous times is when a man retires. I think it's that first 12 to 24 months. It's the danger period for their marriage. The woman can just get, you know, think, "Oh God, I don't like him being around." Because they used to having the day to themselves, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, if you make it all the way to retirement, you're probably going to make it through to the end until, you know, there's a widowhood situation. I did some recent investigations, and up till about age 50, it looks like about 10% of marriages wind up in widowhood when one or the other of the spouse is 50 years old. Yeah. That about 10% of marriages wind up in widowhood. About double for the woman being a widow, and about 1/3 is the man is a widower.
Right.
So 10% of marriages dissolve as such in that way. And that's okay, normal in some way. People die at various ages. But 50% wind up in divorce, 10% in widowhood. That leaves 40%. Depending upon, whether you consider other factors like a marriage without children.
Yeah.
And other things. These numbers are hard to get,
Yeah, makes you wonder how accurate they are anyway.
Yeah.
And how they're derived.
Yeah. So anyway, we should look at a lighthouse for the week. What was your in your remembrance the best MGTOW video of last week?
Indominus MGTOW here, and another video I would like to get into today is basically the narcissist personality disordered person, let alone the cluster B disordered person in general, hating exposure. Now, why do you think they hate exposure? Well, let's look down the list. They have to wear a mask constantly. They have to sell this false illusion that there's someone great and powerful. The narcissist, let alone any cluster B disordered person, has to fake it to make it and all that bullshit. And which usually they go conning people in high places and people of power. Now, you look at it this way, the reason why they hate exposure is just because of that, the false facade they wear, of making people think that they're powerful and great and they're this big bad or big head honcho or some bullshit. And that's why narcissists, let alone cluster B disordered people, pull their bullshit and do what they do. Because heaven forbid if they were to be exposed for the frauds that they really are, they can't have that. Oh, heaven forbid if you were to know about all this bullshit that they pull. That would just really fuck up their day. Because they're, in actuality, they're just very insecure, miserable people. Granted, I didn't have such a great life, but a lot of people who don't have a great life, they tend to want to try to escape that because they don't like it. And heaven forbid, if you were to have the ability to see right past the mask, use intuition on what's bullshit and what's not, and be able to use discernment, even they hate that too. So they'll try to do anything to shut you up or make you look crazy, because they don't want the real them to be exposed. That's why they pull the whole bait and switch, they pull the gaslighting, the crazy making, they poke, prod, provoke, all that bullshit. I'm gonna try to make this video as short as possible. Basically, if it's an old saying, you could feed a monkey, but they're just gonna sling shit. Say hi, Streaky. Say hello. Hey, Streaky baby. But yeah, they put on like a mask, but at the end of the day, they're pretty much con artists or con artist bullies, just trying to put on a good show, or let's just say the covert narcissist. They try to put on the whole dopey, loofy hippie act, and in actuality, they're very cunning, sneaky. They're cunning, sneaky manipulators, and covertly they'll pull some bullshit, and then out in the open, they'll act like nothing happened, or they'll act like their target's the bad guy. It's what they do. Like I said, it's all a milquetoast circus show. But yeah, I got things, you know, I got certain things to do when I'm called to do it. So that's pretty much for this video. I mean, try to make this video as short as possible. Indominus MGTOW, peace out, and remember, don't feed the flying monkeys, let alone the trolls.
Yeah, we have, you know, MGTOW has some crossover with this narcissist warning community, right? And whether they consider them narcissists or psychopaths, you know, there's crossover there as well. Yeah, a lot of men wind up, you know, in relationships with narcissists or psychopaths. And it's very damaging to the men and to the families. And, you know, psychopaths are not stupid normally, you know, for the most part, and they know how to twist the system around their finger, say the right thing to the judge, and, you know, they get everything they want, and the man is victimized as such by the system. However, you know, we have to admit throughout history, 4% of men are psychopaths, maybe a couple of percent sadists, and women marry these men, and they get hurt, and you know, there's no way to protect what goes on inside someone's house if you marry a psychopath or a sadist.
Yeah, that's right.
However, you know, when that psychopath and sadist has a judge as a friend, right? Then the judge has to listen to this psychopath or sadist and stick the police on you, and then the whole system comes down upon you. That's a whole different matter.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've experienced it. Quite a few guys have. You probably have yourself, where they're quite willing to lie though and create this false reality where you've got to suffer the consequences. You don't even know what they've said about you, but you'll know after the fact, once you've had an action done against you by one of the so-called flying monkeys, whatever, the third parties, you know, the part of the triangulation that they do, involve a third party, and then you don't know what's going on. So yeah, Indominus MGTOW, he's MGTOW of the week.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll put a link into my thing underneath.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. Check out his channel, everyone. Indominus MGTOW.
So, I was reading the chat a minute ago. Anyone in the chat have a MGTOW video of the week, or a MGTOW content provider of the week? A great lighthouse to men coming in.
True hippie.
A warning to men. We should also make mention of Marcel Enlightened Again. He came up with putting the MGTOW tagline into an ad search, and he couldn't come up with it. He had an update of that video, and there's no real way to win against Google. Even if we change the name of MGTOW to something else, there's no real way to win. Redchip just put in Zeitgeist Eater, of course, and he's been, foremost in backing up MGTOW's Freedom's channel. And Black Pill, he's always consistent and hard hitting. But I'm sort of thinking about specific videos that are the best of whoever it is, and a topic. Yes, YouTube is pure evil, and I think that's what their motto was: don't do evil. Well, I think they changed it to do evil when you have to.
True hippie.
Chris Cantu. Chris is always on and highly motivated and full of energy. Did he come up with a video of unusual quality? I think is what I'm searching for. Has anyone created a best of MGTOW list yet? I've seen some small ones, but we need a best of MGTOW Somebody should become an archivist or something of MGTOW. There are some people, Antique Cars, I think, does that. But every once in a while to post a list of the best of. Because, people have different quality videos. And sometimes it just works and sometimes it doesn't. Some of MGTOW's freedoms were just great, and others were, well, it's a little tired maybe. Howard Dare, more often than not, hits one out of the park. And it's great. Yeah, Monster. Jeez, that's hard to say, Monster. Yeah, PUA MGTOW is popular. And it's popular amongst the young men, I think. That, they still wish to hang on to that dream. And they're playing on that. They think there's a way to game, to alpha the system. There's no way to alpha the system. They're not doing the numbers. They understand the nature of women, and because they do that now, they think they can game the women. Well, maybe they can, but the system will wind up gaming you. If 1,000 men, if 1,000 PUA and MGTOW go out and have, relations with a woman in any given week, how many will wind up captured by the gynocentric system? How many do you think, MH, of 1,000 men try to interact with a woman, have sex with a condom or whatever, how many will get sucked in?
Well, I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 10? Nobody knows the number, but it's going to be some.
Yeah, in some way or another.
Yeah, it's going to be some. The condom's going to break. It breaks 15% of the time. It doesn't work 15% of the time. And, women lie about being on birth control, up to 30% of the time. And some of them are desperate and want to get pregnant.
Well, the thing is with that situation is that the woman that you've had the interaction with is likely to be of ill repute anyway. So that's the kind of woman you'd have to have interaction with, and who'd have to be the mother of your child. So I'd be careful who you have interactions with anyway, on a sexual level. You should, unless you're prepared for that woman to be the mother of your child, and for you to have interactions with her for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's obviously manipulating at this stage. So, when she's got that kid, she's going to be manipulating times 10.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the young women are raised with information and the feminist agenda, and they think this is all well and good. And so, how many women are, as we say, virginal and pure at 22 or something? Yeah. How many are not playing a manipulating game?
And the men manipulating the women as well, so everyone's manipulating everyone.
Yeah, this is the system feeding in on itself, isn't it? In a funny way. It starts a little bit here, then it goes to the other side, then it comes back to the first side. And now we're into inauthentic relationships. Everyone's posturing, everyone's posing. Yeah. There's no ultimate goal, which, there used to be. And so it's just manipulation on both sides. And MGTOW is advising just pull out of that manipulation. Don't try to manipulate and don't be manipulated. Just pull out. Just wait and see what happens.
Well, my children, I advise them not to get involved anyway because they've got work to do with school and whatever. So most parents, if they've got any sense, would advise the child the same, wouldn't they? To not get involved. They're young.
Yeah. Yeah, because, everyone's into this manipulation game. And, you think about, in the past, in certain communities, there were arranged marriages where the parents would get together and agree that these two young people should get married, and then, you know, have these young people meet each other, and you know, see if they sort of get along, and if they do, the marriage is set. You know, there's no manipulation, no game, and there's pressure from both parents together to have this happen. But today, you couldn't do that because the parents of the woman cannot control the woman once she's married, and she's got that phone call to the system.
Yeah.
So even the parents have lost control over this situation. They can't even arrange marriages because it's still too dangerous for the man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you know, you know, even if they raise this versional, you know, church going, whatever tradcon, dream, NAWALT you want to imagine, once she's in the marriage, she's out of the control of the parents, and she has the government on the phone.
Yeah.
Taking everything from the man, and the man and the man's parents can't do anything with the woman's parents now. They're out of the picture.
Well, if you look at these popular television programs, like what's her name, wives programs, I can't remember what they're called, but they promote this kind of culture where they want to take things off the husband and how much they're worth in the divorce and all that business.
Oh yeah.
And that's a programming culture that women, they like it.
Yes, and they talk about it. You know, I read, make sure it lasts for 10 years, girl, before you take him. You have a much better chance in court if you stay with him 10 years. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is predatory.
And you can see how bitchy they are amongst each other as well, because they're all friends together, but as soon as one of them's gone, they're talking about them behind the back, and then they all group together, another one goes, and they're all talking about her behind the back. And so, you know, I learned quite a lot from watching those programs. Yeah,
well, MH, do you talk about me behind my back? You know, we're not a...
Oh, yes, I do actually, because Whiskey said earlier on, he sent me a message saying he'd like to pop in, but he can't because he's been called into work. So, yes, I do talk about you behind your back. Oh,
well, it's all well and good for the listening post here. And let me throw the link up again. If anyone wants to drop in, whoosh, whoosh. You know, you're there making comments, and you're welcome to drop in if you like. All you need is a set of headphones and a microphone. And if you want to drop in and chat, please do. You know, I've appreciated your comments on my videos. And yes, technology is not a strong point of mine. Yeah, I'm a medium user. You know, I grew up with a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
You know, that's, but I wasn't really into it, I have to say.
I had a Sinclair Spectrum ZX81, and that was a nightmare to program.
Was it? Yeah. So, yes, us older people sort of remember this old technology, and the new kids, they're growing up with this, the smartphones and the connectivity, immediate and user-friendly.
Yeah, and plug and play.
Yeah, plug and play. It's all plug and play now, which is in some way good. And the systems can all communicate with each other. You know, we're doing very well here. You know, we're 8,000 miles away. The system seems to be running well. The chat's coming out, and this is an amazing system. But it's all now geared towards manipulation. It's all towards manipulation. And this is, I think, more evidence of what you said, the system feeding in on itself.
Yeah.
You know, once you realize other people are manipulating you, that the only, defense, if you want to play that game, is to then manipulate the other people. And so it's this downward cycle of everyone manipulating other people.
Yeah. Makes you can't promote manipulation, really, apart from, unless it means liberating yourself from the system. So manipulate the system to get out of it if you have to. I don't mind that. as long as you don't break any laws, really.
Yes, but then it becomes, destructive at some point to yourself, because you realize you're manipulating and are being manipulated, and that, there's no positive end to all this manipulation.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's all I see everywhere.
Yeah, this is your life. This is not, in work. Okay, you manipulate in work to gain market share or to gain a promotion or things like that. This is all work. It's like in a sports game, you manipulate the field in order to gain the score. But this is your life. You can't manipulate life.
You can have a plan, can't you? And then shape things towards the outcome of your plan. So that kind of manipulation's okay.
Yeah. Manipulating reality is a good thing, but manipulating other people, deceiving other people, and
that's right. It's a moral ethic. That's where life's going wrong, is that people don't have any honor and kind of moral virtue of any substance. We've got these people with virtues, they're virtue signaling, but they don't actually have any inherent virtue. That's the irony.
Oh, isn't that something? Yes, I like that. The virtue signal is not the virtue.
That's right.
Yeah, oftentimes, those who are virtuous don't signal it, because to signal it is not to be virtuous in the first place.
That's right.
That if you want to give donations, you give them anonymously.
Yeah, there's a passage in the Bible about that as well, isn't there? I think.
Yes, probably.
God likes works to be done in secret.
Yes, good works in secret.
Yeah.
And yes, to be virtuous is really to do it anonymously. And, there's the issue in MGTOW about, gaining money from Patreon or from, the hits or whatever.
Yeah.
And other people are saying, no, it should be anonymous giving. And most MGTOW are anonymous.
Yeah.
They're just giving, and that's the end of it. But I do appreciate other people who want to do this full time and are good at it and are raising the profile of MGTOW. I also appreciate that maybe they should get extra resources because they're doing such a great job. We're here talking, and we're available for anyone who wants to jump in and talk it up and that. And hopefully we'll continue this listening post, and men will jump in. If you're just passing through, if you're lurking in the background, feel free to drop on. Just drop a note. We'll bring you in. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And at the very beginning of the chat, there was, Nick Watt came on, and I now remember what she had said. I'd written a comment about how in the past, a father would protect the daughter in a marriage, and that the daughter didn't need, a judge. He would just come back to the family home, and that the father or the uncle or the brother, or whatever, would provide protection, and that if the son-in-law were evil, the father would step in. And she mentioned this example of her grandparents. Her grandmother ran back home, and her great-grandfather sent her back to her husband, and then her grandparents lived a long and fruitful life together. But the grandmother apparently just had to grow up a bit and realize she doesn't get everything she wants in life. And this is what happened in the past. You left fathers always want to spoil daughters. I suppose they also want to spoil sons in some way, but they want to spoil daughters. And when they go and get married, they realize the spoiling is over. And it's hard to grow up.
Yeah. Well, it depends what era you've brought up in and what era your grandparents and so on were brought up in as to what the behaviour is now and what the traits that they took on in their days, shall I say, and carried over.
Well, that's right.
Because some families do and some families don't.
Yeah, well, now it's, they're mostly broken families, right? So, what are the daughters learning now? Geez, you don't want to know. such a high percentage are raised in a in a family life of manipulation. The ex-wife is manipulating the ex-husband, and the daughter sees this manipulation and hears all these words that these women are coming out without any real experience of a man who exists as his own man and is not manipulated by the wife. They're not getting that exposure.
Yeah.
It's dangerous out there. It's dangerous.
I mean, I had a semblance of a traditional kind of family in the 90s, I think, up to the 2000, 2002 or something like that. But now I don't think it's achievable. I don't see much of it going on now.
Well, yeah, this is the question. How much of this, sustainable family life is actually occurring in Britain, in Canada, in the United States, and, in the West generally? What's the percentage of this happening? The statistics are not clear on it. I did read a statistic that 60% of kids today spend at least some time in a single parent home.
Right. Yeah.
And as I mentioned, maybe 10% of marriages wind up in widowhood. So we're looking at 50% of kids being the victim of a broken home, a divorce or something.
Yeah.
And they're living without one of their parents anyway.
Yeah.
And then they witness the manipulation.
Well, not only that, there's the risk of the children coming into contact with abuse as well. If their mother is interacting with different men and so on, is it children more likely to be assaulted or sexually assaulted or whatever? I'm not disrespecting the men, but they're the facts. So it seems that they don't even care about the safety of their own children. A lot of these women.
Well, that's right. In my own family, there was a situation of a divorce, and the ex-wife met up with this other guy, and he was an alcoholic. He was a drunk, a party drunk alcoholic type guy, and he was living in the house with my nephews, niece, nephew. They were young, and here was this drunk with my sister-in-law. And I was separated from the situation by distance and my own preoccupations, but after MGTOW, I clued in and said, "Oh my God,"
Well, yeah. There's a lot of guys going through that as fathers. They got to think of the fact their children are spending time near other men, and that's something they have to deal with. It's not very nice.
Yeah, and I certainly do respect you and the other men who have been through this bad situation, because I don't know whether I could have dealt with it in a polite manner, let's say. I don't think I'm that kind of guy. So, I was wise to get out when I did and to live away from that, because I don't think I would react well. And so as I came out last week with young men, and if there's any young men listening, you don't have to get into a relationship and have it destroyed in order for you to be fully MGTOW and realize, based upon the learning of other men, that you shouldn't get into this relationship. So there's some people saying that you had to earn your stripes to get into MGTOW. And I say, no, you don't. If you are aware of these dangers and you don't want to participate, you're fine. You can be MGTOW. There's no problem. As long as you know you got the penis, you're the problem, and you don't have to earn your stripes and risk getting trapped in a horrible situation in order to know that you don't want to get in it. because some men get in it and they can't handle it. Everyone's got a different breaking point. And if you don't want to get in and find out what your breaking point is, then don't get in it. You're MGTOW, that's fine. Just stay away from the situation that could break you. Do you want to find your breaking point and wear that sandwich board on the street? No, but it happens to some men. And we don't know who those men are. It could have been you, MH, but it wasn't. Thank God. But it is some men. And I swear it would have been me, right? It would have been a sandwich board or prison bars or something else. I don't know. Some men can do it, some men can't.
Yeah, when children are used as weapons and all kinds of nasty stuff, where, you know, arrangements will be made for men to spend time with the children.
Yeah.
And then a party will crop up with some kind of other thing out of nowhere that probably doesn't even exist, just so they got control over your life, because some people like playing that game as well, remember?
Yep, they're yanking your chain to see how, you know, to see where your breaking point is. And then, you know, when you reach this breaking point, you either snap or they put you on drugs to keep you normal, to keep you functioning. But now you're no longer you. You're no longer who you were. You're somebody on drugs in order to function in the world.
Yeah, that does seem to be on the increase these days, I think.
Yes. And, you know, women seem to be on these psychiatric pills more than men, but, you know, and it's an epidemic. What is it, 40 million or something? You know, huge numbers of people, a huge percentage of people are on these pills every day just to function.
Right.
Because the stresses that they're under, they're in this manipulative system, and the pressures on them. People are yanking their chains, manipulating them, seeing if they can break them, because they have no other excitement in their life. So let's see if we can break this man. Oh, look, he's going to break. Oh, he's going in and taking the pills. That's good. Get him on the pills, happy pills.
Yeah. And it seems that there's a liking for just the general kind of junk culture. You know, these crappy TV programs where they have the drama every week. There's a cliffhanger, and there's the next episode with a drama and a cliffhanger. And it just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Where they give people scenarios, like social scenarios, and it gives them ideas of how to manipulate people. It's okay. It's just, oh God.
Yeah. The drama. Why do we need all this drama in your personal life? You know, there's enough struggle with you know, pushing back the influence of entropy, right? The disorder or the unorderedness of reality is enough of a pushback. Why do we need drama? Why don't you, you know, push back the bounds of disorder? You know, create wealth, create value somewhere.
Yeah.
Drama is just mostly destructive.
Yeah, it's that social engineering thing that women are big on, you see. That's why it's popular, isn't it, on TV? Women love it.
They love
these fake characters doing all these fake things in their little fake town. And what do they do? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And there's some in Britain that are on one after the other, and these women, I've noticed this though, they seem to know what time they're on, which one finishes when, and when the next one starts, and they can hop from one to another. Seriously, I'm not joking.
Yeah. And if they can, they'll manipulate their lives to create some drama.
Yeah.
Maybe in former times, they liked the men to go out and create drama and attack another village or something like that, another tribe. They liked that drama.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I mean, men, as they get older, they just like a quiet life, don't they? So if women want to entertain this drama shit, keep bringing it to the doorstep, that's not going to end well anyway. I mean, you know, as a man gets older, he doesn't want to know anything like that.
Yeah, because he's been through enough drama, you know, moving ahead his career or or just, getting to work and back, and the stress of raising a family, that's enough. My God, you don't want more.
Yeah.
So, why these women want this drama, I don't know.
The whole system's geared towards it, isn't it? Drama, and then they've got the fashion show within the drama, and all that business. Then there's the advertising between the show, which is an advertising show in itself.
Yeah.
So it's a cultural programming show, advertising show, and oh my God!
Yes.
And it proliferates this entitlement culture of junk culture, meaningless displays of non-value. I don't know.
Well, it's authenticity. It's an inauthentic experience, consumerism, buying the latest fashions, watching these TV shows where they're, it's fake. They're just actors. Even in the reality shows, they're still just actors. And somebody came up with a line in a comment of a mirage. And it's funny how the word mirage and marriage are so similar, that in today's world, a marriage is a mirage. It's something in the distance. You think it exists. You think it's an oasis where you can have safety, but that's a mirage. And the women put on the makeup, and that's a mirage. And, they make themselves out to be one way, and that's a mirage. And so it all seems to be an inauthentic mirage experience today in the West. There's so much wealth generated in the past when it was moving ahead, and now it's borrowing from the future, and this wealth is coming in to sustain it, and it's all now a mirage. And the back to the lighthouse allusion, that the rocks are hidden behind a mirage. They're, unless MGTOW shines the light on those rocks, you think that you're getting something safe or real, or a real life. But it's just a mirage. The women have unfettered hypergamy and rampant and unfettered gynocentric urges, and they will destroy you with one unverified phone call. And so what you think is there is just a mirage. You have to shine a light on it. Take your own light. Don't believe MGTOW. Take your own light and shine it on that shore that you see. And when you shine the light, you'll see that there are dangerous, jagged rocks that the legal system has shown itself to be heartless and will rip things from you. And you have no control. Nobody has any control. Not even the people in the system. So, mirage and marriage. Are they synonyms now?
Yeah. I think it's derived. It's an Old English word, marriage, though, from French. I think marriage was marier or something like that in French.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to look up the meaning of that. Looking up the meaning of the word husband was interesting, and wife, as you said, just means woman.
Yeah.
And so a husbander of resources and a woman equals a marriage. Okay, what's marriage now? What did they think about that relationship, 2,000 years ago or whenever? So that we can shine a light on what it was in the beginning, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it was in the Christian world, it was the joining of man and woman as one, under God, wasn't it? So it was between the three.
Yeah.
The two became one. So then it was the one between God, wasn't it? But now it's two corporations and a government corporation, so it's just three corporations. It's nothing to do with man and woman, nothing to do with God. So it's completely defunct.
Yes, and with God in the picture as the Old Testament justice or the New Testament love.
Yeah.
Then that God had a moral position, and you wouldn't want to go against the wishes of an eternal truth.
Yeah.
But as it's a corporation now, the government's involved, and it's just the legal system. And there you have people who benefit from your misfortune. So they have their jobs because you're screwing up.
Well, if you think about it logically, the church is complicit in the fraud these days because they know that it's nothing to do with God and it's through corporations, and they're not really warning people. So they should be doing that as well.
Well, you know, they I think, you know, back in the 900s in England, they started this whole thing that the marriage has to go through the church as a holy sacrament. Before that, it didn't. And so they, you know, staked out a little territory where they would have power and thus get revenue. And then they lost it to the state starting around the 1600s.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit of the action. And so they don't want to lose the little bit of action that they have. And so they're playing along with the government. And nobody's telling the truth to men except MGTOW. MGTOW is shining the light on the history of the church, you know, taking control of a man and a woman, and then shining the light on the government taking most of that control away and defining marriage. Who in the hell needs to define marriage? Who cares what the government thinks? It's the community that really has the final say, not the government.
Yeah.
But the government wants control because they want their money, and they just want control. So stay out of the control of this system unless you are fully aware of what you're getting into. And that may take years to determine. So anyway, we've had some people coming through. Nobody's decided to drop in yet. What night is it? It's Friday night, New York City. You're getting late there. You sound a little tired tonight. Are you tired a bit?
It's 2:45 in the morning.
Oh yeah, my God, I'm sorry about the time.
That's not a problem.
You know, the scope of the West, I guess, is 24 hours now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sort of an outpost in exile almost, way over in this time zone. You're in the center, and then we have California and Hawaii, you know, stretching out another 10, 14 hours the other direction, or about 10 hours.
I think Texas is about 6 hours behind, I think.
Yeah.
By me.
So what time is it there? It's like 3 in the afternoon in Texas. In California, it'd be, you know, what, 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon.
No, it's a bit later than that.
Yeah. So, and you know, all of these are men of the West, and they're all in this system. The sirens, yes, they're the voices that speak from the ocean saying, jump in, jump in. There's mirages. You know, this is an auditory mirage, isn't it? Have you ever heard the sirens of the ocean? Have you ever been on a boat and heard the sirens?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of boat sirens. Like ship sirens.
The sirens of the ocean, you know, those, they put them in the form of a woman, but something calls to you from the ocean, and some people jump over the side of a ship because of that call. I think you have to be out on the ocean for like a week or something like that.
Yeah, so they have some kind of hallucination.
It's like an hallucination. Like some people can't go near the edge of a building because they're impelled to jump or something. Something's calling them to jump.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that. So that's what these sirens are. And you know, maybe it's part of our programming, our genetic programming, to be open to these mysterious calls.
Yeah. No, I've not experienced that. No.
They're probably lucky, otherwise you'd be at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. I ate a few strange fungus when I was younger, though. And, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, fungus. Yeah,
fungi.
we could go on a long time about fungus and women, but I don't think
Yeah.
we will.
No. Whoosh whoosh. What's that there? Whoosh whoosh says, no matter what the time zone, rest assured, some man's been taken advantage of by a woman, arrested by a couple of false allegations, robbed by a lawyer, and fucked by a judge.
Yeah, I know. I know. You think about it, and it every minute, every day. How many men are walking into court today to lose everything? How many? Unimaginable.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
these guys just wanted to have a family, do the honest thing.
they wanted to do the honest thing. I think that was an honest moment of silence.
Yeah.
Because we're here, you and I are here, and the men in the chat are here, and we just hope that some of those men will come in here, when they have the chance to make a choice, to just drop into this channel, into this chat, and stay away from what was just said. To drop in here to get some information or some support to get the information, to avoid that. But we know that right now some man is going through hell and we can't help him. And but as I say, there's now many lighthouses trying to warn men, and many different avenues. I stumbled across a nice page of people trying to support boys to be boys. So this was a website and a group of people getting together to support boys to be boys, and to not, to get involved somehow in the schools, to say, screw off. If the boy's 5 years old, let him run around. He doesn't want to sit down, let him run. Don't, let him be who he's meant to be. And so, this group here, and they had a video up on the MGTOW Twitter, which I occasionally go to, and obviously they were aware, I think, to put it on MGTOW's search in Twitter, and so they're aware of MGTOW, and so they're feeding in to MGTOW, and we would feed into them. Yes, anything to help the boys is good, and if these people are trying to help boys, then that's good. And so there's many lighthouses, not all of them MGTOW even. So we will take any lighthouse. We will support any lighthouse. Leave MGTOW alone to be MGTOW. You do what you want. But MGTOW is the final defense. It's the ultimate defense. Don't put your boys in schools, right? Just don't do it. If they try to do something to your boys, take them out of the schools. Teach them at home. There's nothing wrong with teaching kids at home. Now, the government may try to come in and say you need this and that. Okay, maybe you have to deal with that. But get the boys out of the schools that are damaging the boys, putting them on anti-ADHD and damaging them in other ways. And, making boys stand up and listen to, this crap that all men are violent rapists, in high school and stuff. This is all bad stuff. But that, the website was run by, I think the main person was a woman. There was an article I read by a woman who said her 17-year-old went to a high school to listen to this crap, and he walked out. Yeah, walk out. Walk out of this crap. There are psychopaths out there doing bad things to women. There are sadists doing bad things to women. But the system out there is blaming men and blaming boys. So look at the lighthouse. Watch what that school is doing to your boys and take them out. Put them somewhere else. You know, if you can, homeschool them. There's nothing wrong with homeschooling. In fact, you put them on the internet and you just say, I want, you know, something productive every couple of days. They can learn more on the internet than they can in school by a factor of 10. What do you think about that? Learning by internet.
Well, yeah. If they've got guidance and some structure to it, it can be done. But if you've got a parent who's not got much about them, I don't think much productivity would come about it. Do you?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, there's got to be some interest and, you know, some ability by the parent to demand, you know, you got to write me an essay, or you got to do some math examples.
Yeah, and if the parent's incapable, then I don't think the child's going to have much chance.
Yeah, but I think an incapable parent is a rarity. Although I may be wrong. Some of those single mothers, you look at them.
Yeah, remember these days though, they're faced with a new generation of people who they are illiterate, and they might not necessarily be illiterate in the fact that they can't read or write, but they're just generally not very well read on many subjects. So what kind of insight can they offer as opposed to just being able to get them to read and write, and then give them a lust for learning and the ability to separate fact from fiction, which in itself is quite difficult these days.
Yeah, I think it's that questioning thing, the lust for learning. If you have the questioning, you don't need anything else, because you'll find the answer. Eventually, you'll find the answer. And if the parent, you know, they haven't read books, but they have a lust for learning, and they have the ability to question, we'll push that onto the child. And you know, with the internet providing the resources, the kid just goes, and maybe you got to talk about it. But you know, most people, I think, in the West can read and can do basic math. You know, and you know, give it enough time. And you never know. There's, you know, once you homeschool your kid, you find that resources will come in your direction. That, you know, your kid's walking around the street in the middle of the day because he's homeschooled, and he meets some old guy who used to be a teacher or something. The kid says, "Oh, I'm homeschooled." The teacher says, "Oh, that's great." And then maybe meets up in, you know, in a week or two, and the kid says, "Well, listen, I got a question," and that's it. He's now found a tutor, right? And this all just happens easily and naturally.
Yeah, I've seen some cases of people coming from a foreign country they haven't been to school in their country. They've gone to another country and not been to school there, and they've opened, you know, a shop and had a successful little business going.
Yeah.
So it's possible to get by quite easily.
And you know, a lot of people make noise about getting an education, about getting, you know, a certificate or going to university. Well, my main subject is philosophy. And the odd thing about philosophy is you don't need a book. You don't actually even need to read to come up with these questions and to develop answers. None of this is required. You don't need to read a book in philosophy. All you have to do is think.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this shop owner, who uneducated in one country, uneducated in the new country, opens up his shop. He might be a philosopher because he's just thinking.
Yeah.
And you know, as a philosopher, I would say, you know, the question of the meaning of life, which is our main subject, is available to all equally. You know, well-read, not well-read, able to read, not able to read. It's still open. Anyone can do it. And, you know, I've spent, you know, 35 years, 40 years, you know, thinking about these issues.
Yeah.
And I don't need a book. And they didn't need a book. They will, you know, the other writers, they're just writing stuff. I could have thought of it and written it down, but they did. Okay, I read it and I got it more quickly. But I could have thought of it myself. So no, you don't need an education to have an authentic experience of life, in this lust for learning and in a questioning of reality. You don't need to read anyone. It's all available, just in your brain. So,
Yeah, television is the worst thing anyone can entertain, I think. It's
yeah,
hypnotic and toxic.
yeah, hypnotic and toxic. That's it. Yeah, the idiot box. My father called it that a long time ago, and now I see it truly. And it's addictive. They have the waveform of the screen itself as a hypnotic device. The pulse of the wave itself is hypnotic.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is with these HD televisions now, but the old ones were for sure.
Yeah, the old ones. Yeah, this new HD. Some of it's very crisp and nice looking, but what's the content? The content, I don't know today. Drama, pointless drama.
Yeah, I don't have a television, so I don't know.
I don't know either. And one of the nice things I got from leaving the West is I have no access to television.
Right.
There's local television, but I don't understand the language.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah,
off.
mate.
I don't have to worry about it.
I don't think you're missing much.
Oh, I'm not missing anything. And now with the internet, I have far more control and far more variety. And so, this is almost better to have television in a language that you don't understand.
Yeah, you can't fall into the trap of watching it. It's just crap, isn't it?
It's just crap, and you see it for crap. It's just crap in this language. It's crap in that language. And anything that makes it on television, it's been approved by the government, so it's a lie.
Yeah.
So, social engineering.
Sounds like the BBC.
Yeah, just lies. I saw this video last night. Somebody put it up on the MGTOW channel. It was this long lecture on population by a demographer at Yale University. And he came right out and said it. Yeah, we're social engineers, and most people in this room will understand our perspective as social engineers.
Right.
My God. Destroying the community, manipulating. See? The social engineers manipulate, and they think they have so much knowledge. This guy, admitted he really doesn't know the direction of the demographics of the West. And he thinks it's one way. And, he sort of came out and said that feminism was a curse, and it was causing all this decline in the fertility rates. But he wasn't ready to state what's going to happen going forward. Okay, that's a safe position. But he, outwardly said, he helps governments make policy on demographic issues. And this is just social engineering. Increase the tax rate, lower the tax rate, give incentives. I feel like a rat in a cage listening to that guy. I don't want to be a rat in your cage.
Well, social engineering goes deeper than that anyway, doesn't it? It involves men and women and the dynamics between family units and individuals.
Oh, yeah.
And so on.
Yeah, through, psychological manipulation, TV shows, music, the whole courtly love, chivalry, social narrative that we've had for 800 years. Yes, this is social engineering.
Yeah, the whole popular culture image, which is transmitted all the time, magazines and TV.
Yeah, the consumerist, phenomenon in the 1950s and 60s and 70s, and now, spreading around that women can feel happy buying this or that trinket, and that the husband has to work ever harder to provide her with more money to buy more trinkets.
Yeah. Pointless battle of fashion.
Yeah, every year there's a new fashion. You have to buy a new fashion every year. And the man is a rat on a wheel.
Yeah,
He's a rat on a wheel.
Purchase your
yeah, it's
tracks
definitely
today.
a promotion of junk culture.
Yeah, a junk culture, a temporary junk culture. And you know, they put a different mirage up in the distance, so you think you're safe going there, and then when you get there, there's nothing there, so they put another mirage. It's like the carrot in front of the donkey, right? Oh, I'll get the carrot eventually.
Yeah.
And then if you don't, you know, if you stop saying that I ain't gonna get that carrot, then they hit you with the stick.
Yeah, it's like the whole sort of American dream thing.
Yeah. Well, that actually at one point might have been real. It might have been real that, you know, you could have a house, but now you can't have a house because they have property tax. You don't pay the property tax. They'll take your house and throw your family out onto the street. They don't care. They want the money. So you chase the carrot now, and if you don't, you get the stick. They'll take your house from you. There is no American dream.
Yeah, that's right.
And who anywhere, what people agreed that it was good to throw old people out of their homes onto the street because they could not pay their property tax? That's my question. Who agreed to that? Who thinks that's good? That it's good to throw old people out of their homes because they cannot pay their property tax? Does anyone agree with that?
I've seen old ladies being taken to prison for not paying the property tax.
Who agreed to this? This is predatory. This is wrong. No, they didn't agree to pay that tax. That tax was placed upon them by social engineers,
Yeah.
claiming, you know, they have to give this money to other people.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got to get back to, you know, asking the people of the community, I think, whether they like to throw, you know, old people out on the streets or young families out on the streets for not paying their property tax. Why don't we ask the people? Because if you ask the people, they'd say, no, don't throw them out on the street. Get the money in a different way.
I can't remember when they started. I think it might have been 1986 or something in Britain. When we had a new tax.
Yeah, you're late on that.
You know, people were rioting. There's riots.
Oh, yeah. They should have burnt the whole fucking country down, sorry to say. They should have burnt the whole country down to prevent that, because that's evil.
Yeah, there were riots, so for sure.
Yeah, well, they should have continued. They shouldn't have stopped.
Yeah.
Those social engineers are vicious monsters. In North America, we had it much earlier.
Yeah. Well, there were two guys got a conviction in my town. I was one of them, and another guy. But he's dead now, God bless him, but he was all right. There's only two of us that got involved with that.
Oh, well.
So a lot of people are pathetic.
Well, you know, they were in that inauthentic experience that the government knows best, and if they want me to be a rat on a wheel, well, I guess that's what I should do.
Yeah.
And so now the members of the government all drive really nice cars. Yeah, congratulations. You're paying the tax so they can have their office remodeled every 5 years.
But what happened was they scrapped it, but they didn't really. They just remodeled it into something else. They hit you still, but from a slightly different angle.
Yeah. And none of this was agreed by the people. This is not law of the land. This is law of social engineers.
And also another thing is that people have got to remember, if they get into a relationship, a young man with a woman, is that your tax status will change as well. So that if, for example, you have your pension, you won't get as much pension anyway when you retire because you're a couple. I'm sure that you get reduced pension. So it's not even advisable anyway.
Yeah.
To get in a relationship and get married. It's completely pointless.
Yes. Oh, it's completely dangerous and pointless. You lose in you know, almost every direction. And those who win are the few. There was this one story, I think it was Sunrise Hoodie, just recently. This would be a runner-up video where he read this letter from one of his viewers who said that he married this church-going young woman, and that he was happy with her church-going ways, and she seemed to be family-oriented, and all of this stuff. In terms of vetting, men vet their women. Okay, sure, women vet their men. Okay, that's fine. So he thought he had a good one here. Okay, so just immediately after marrying her, he went out and bought a house. She stayed in the house for 2 days and then left him for some other guy, and then sued him for divorce and got half the house.
Yeah.
She stayed in it for 2 days and she got half the house.
So what's happened is he having to sell it to pay her the money,
Yeah.
the equity that he wants.
Oh yeah, I guess he had saved up money and he owned the house outright, and she got half the value of that house for 2 nights. She stayed in it 2 nights.
Mm.
And how many years is that guy gonna have to work to get that equity back that he paid this woman for 2 nights?
He might not be able to do it even.
The house is a major purchase, and as you say, if this guy wants to try it again, he's gonna not be able to buy a house probably outright.
Yeah, that's right. He might be back to renting now.
He might be back to renting, and he probably saved up for some time. It might have been a starter house, but nevertheless, he's 2 nights. This system is evil.
Yeah.
So you can check out that video by Sunrise Hoodie. He reads a letter from one of his viewers, and it's the guy apparently did everything that all the trad cons and MRAs say. Didn't make out. Maybe the percentages are up, but they're not up that much. Yeah.
Sunrise Hoodie is actually quite a good channel. He's quite a young man. He seems quite cool.
Yeah. He's a young man with a nice, clear speaking voice, with a nice, clear message, always, nice and direct. He's coming from a bit of a Christian approach, but it's not extreme. He's got, this type of moral foundation, let's say. And so he speaks quite well to everyone. And a lot of the men coming into MGTOW are young men. The older men are in the middle of doing whatever they're doing, and the young men are coming up and getting into the PUA MGTOW. Well, PUA sites are not MGTOW, and then going to Sunrise Hoodie, and other young men are speaking quite eloquently. And we're just back up, I believe, for this new crowd coming into MGTOW. We're back up here. If you want to jump on, I'll put the link up again if there's anyone out there who wants to jump on. Young men, old men. But yeah, we're lucky in MGTOW to have all these great guys coming up, telling their stories and creating these sites, places for young men to go and get good information. And we have a problem in that, we have other PUA sites like Victor Knight. Have you been to his page recently?
No, of course I have. No.
Horrible stuff. Absolutely horrible. I didn't think he could get worse, but he is. Yes, unbelievable stuff. So, I don't know what his direction is, but he's not MGTOW in any sense I can figure out. And I've been into it back and forth with Frank Castle. You know Frank Castle?
No.
He's a commenter. I've seen him around and basically agree with him. but he seems to be a Victor Knight booster or something. And but you know, Victor Knight is just saying the most hideous and horrible of things, much like Darius. You know, MGTOW knowledge Darius. So, you know, these are PUA types trying to come in and give false hope. You know, they're sirens. I think they're sirens. Like in the ocean, sirens leading men towards that rocky cliff. And ultimately, some of them to destruction. Others maybe might get ashore okay, but the danger is real. Yeah. So, we've been discussing here the week in MGTOW and the video of the week and the need for men to look at the lighthouse, shining light of reality, as it were, revealing reality in a new light. And, you know, in the video I made, I spoke about, it probably started with one guy in a flashlight. You know, in MGTOW, one guy in a flashlight about 20 years ago, probably in a rowboat, right? Rowed out there with a flashlight night after night, shining that flashlight. And eventually it was two of them, then a flotilla, and then it was a lighthouse, and now it's many lighthouses. But there's so many men getting into it. Although the statistics do say that more men are not getting married, they're not moving into relationships. And this demographer, whose video I saw, was talking about that. He says it's unprecedented. There's been nothing like it in history. So the system is becoming aware of men pulling away, and they're blocking MGTOW. They are not blocking MRA, which says something. They're not blocking other key search words, but they're blocking MGTOW. So that means they don't like us. So obviously the message is one that they don't want out there. So we're going to have to keep making this message stronger and louder, build ever bigger lighthouses. So if anyone has an idea how to build a massive lighthouse to make men come in, understand that MGTOW is questioning things in certain ways, and that they should go out and investigate this before they make decisions. So we need a giant lighthouse. How do we do that?
Well, I think people are fighting MGTOW, aren't they? When they search social justice warriors, feminism, and it kind of comes in with that. I think it's possible to link into it like that on YouTube, and then they get to the Sandman, and then so on.
Yeah.
And they work their way up to whatever. I think that's how it works. So it seems to be operating all right at the moment. It's getting bigger.
Yes, it appears to be getting bigger, and there has been some coverage in the mass media, some of it very bad, some of it, mediocre, some of it positive. So there is some mass media coverage.
Yeah, some can be falsely stated as being women hating, so that's not real, I don't think.
No, it's not. But this is a MGTOW issue, that men come onto sites and they're angry and they say angry things, and they're fully welcome to do it. And MGTOW is not going to silence these men. And this is not a burden for men to carry in MGTOW. These men coming on to release, this is no burden. That other people will interpret these statements in one way or the other. that's their business. But MGTOW content providers, some of them, are opening themselves to this angry outburst, but most are not. The problem is with the system, not with women, and not with all women. It's just Western women, and women are just a gateway into this system. So, that we have so many commenters who are angry men, young and old, coming on, that's fine. And so the mass media is looking at the commenters and not looking at the content creators. Because the content creators, while accepting this anger, are getting down to the core of the issue, which is the system. And the mass media doesn't want to cover that because it doesn't make good news. And of course, with some of the commenters, and this came out with Paul Elam. He was basing some sort of MGTOW position on commenters, and he wouldn't mention any content providers or long-term vetted commenters like NYC, Korean MGTOW, or Kova Redro, or Must Know 3. These commenters are well regarded, and their word can be taken as MGTOW. But so many commenters come on. We don't know who they are, and they're welcome to make comments, and that's good. And once they make it for a little while, they get a track record. And I hope to see Zen Maintenance make some more comments, because his comment was so great on the Lighthouse video. And then these commenters can be trusted. But Paul Elam was just, apparently looking at random commenters and saying that these people reflect MGTOW. Well, maybe they do in a general sense, but they're not, long-term commenters. Some may be. So the media and Paul Elam and others are going to have to be more specific if they're going to address who MGTOW is. Anyone can become MGTOW, and anyone can add their voice into this. But people like Victor Knight and MGTOW Knowledge Darius are not MGTOW, I believe, because they're not saying what has consistently and historically been said by MGTOW, even today. So we have to deal with this issue, and I think we will. Anyway, we've been on now for a couple of hours, and I think we're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank the 7 viewers for remaining and joining in the chat. And I want to thank MH, who's probably just trundled off to sleep, because it is getting late in jolly old England. And Whiskey wasn't able to come on with us tonight, and nobody else decided to jump in. But the listening post was up again this week, and I want to thank everyone for dropping in and visiting. And if you get this on the the video later on, feel free to join in next week, and we'll have a video of the week, and maybe try to build and construct a bigger lighthouse somehow, somewhere, because MGTOW is under attack. Yes, they are. They are under attack on YouTube and other places. And the attack is really that they don't understand. Men are angry, men are rightly angry, and men are banding together to spread knowledge about how to defend men against this system. So we'll leave this chat. Thanks, MH.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Values. I'll catch you again on the next one.
Yeah, we'll do it on the next one. Thanks, everyone, and good night.
Yep, good night, everyone in the chat room. Good night.